Hi, I'm going to show you guys how you can make some different heart-shaped things like ornaments, bowls, those kind of things. So if you have cookie cutters at home that are heart-shaped, those are helpful. Otherwise, you can make your own heart out of paper like you've probably done before. So you would just take some paper and fold it in half. I like to do it the hamburger way, so you have more room, so it's the wide way. And then on the fold, so I am right-handed, so the fold is on my left-hand side, that's where I'm going to draw half a heart. And I don't want to make a really giant one. I'm going to make kind of a smaller heart because of the amount of clay I have. After I have half the heart, I take a pair of scissors and I can cut it out. Now this heart is your template, and you can use either the inside or the outside to trace from. So I can either use this side. I'm going to cut a little of this extra off because I don't need all that paper. Or I can use what's called the negative space to trace from. You could also save this and use it as a card if you want. Otherwise, if you have a cookie cutter, that's very helpful to have too. Alright, so now that you have either your cookie cutters or your paper template, you need to roll out your clay. So we did this when we did our little houses. So you would take some of your clay, measure about a finger down, and cut it with your wire tool. Your hearts can be any size for an ornament, a little bit bigger for a small dish. After you have the heart, after you have the piece of slab, it's a little thick, so if you have a rolling pin, that's best. And you want to roll it about as thick as your finger. I like to turn it when I roll it, just like when I roll a cookie dough. Now if you don't have a rolling pin, sometimes you can toss it a little to stretch it. Make sure you're working on your slab mat because this will definitely stick to the table. So once I have that all nice and rolled out, I can take either my cookie cutter or my stencil and cut it out. This is a good size for an ornament, so I can cut that out. And then this extra clay you should ball up and put in your scrap bag to use later. So if you want an ornament, you have to put a hole in it. So you do have a stick, but the stick won't do a very big hole. So if you're doing the stick, don't do it too close to the center. Poke it in and wiggle it on the front a lot and the back a little bit because the clay in the kiln shrinks. So we want to do that. Then I'll smooth out any sharp edges because they'll become sharp in the firing. Now you can decorate this any way you want. You can press things into it, you could draw stripes, you could write words on it, and then make sure you smooth all the edges. And then if you bring it in to be fired, you need your name on it and the class shape. And then you'd put that aside and put it in your Ziploc. That's the ornament. If you'd like to make a dish, you should find a bigger cookie cutter or use your bigger template for a dish. So it's nice to have a bowl and a wet paper towel because the clay will stick to it. So I like to do the form in the bowl so I don't have these ridges, or even a cup with a paper towel on it is fine. So it's nice to have a wet paper towel because then it can fit inside the bowl better and you don't have a lot of the wrinkles. But if you aren't able to get a wet one, you can use a dry one. Okay, and then you'll set that aside and you'll get your rolled out clay. I have a piece here. And you'll cut out your shape, or you can trace this and cut with your stick. Again, save this extra clay because you can use that. It's best to just roll it up in a ball because it won't dry as fast if it's all rolled up. And then take it out of your form. Okay, you'll want to press designs in it now. If you want designs in it, you can use anything from a pencil to make polka dots, or you can find other shapes. Believe it or not, the bottom of my shoe has a really cool pattern on it. So I could gently step on it and use the bottom of my shoe. Mine has some butterflies. Okay? Then you'll want to smooth the edges with your finger, the top and the bottom. So since this one is going to be a little dish, not an ornament, I'm going to press it into the curve of the bowl. Now I need that to firm up a little bit to leather hard before I decide if I want to add feet. If I don't add feet, it will rock a little bit. So you want to firm it up. Now if you choose to use the cup, that's fine too. you would just put it over the cup form and press down. Okay, so then I would let it firm up a little bit to leather hard, but in this video I'm just going to show you the next step. So this is fine, but it might rock a little. So if you want to add feet, it's always good to work in threes. So use some of that extra clay you have. 2 feet would be too wobbly, and 4 feet it's hard to balance. So threes are good. It's okay to make balls. Try to roll them in your hands, but balls can roll even when you slip and score. So if you're going to make balls of clay, you want to flatten the edge down. So you have a nice flat edge on all 3. And then you can't just put it on there. You have to slip and score. So you've got your nice scoring tool and your slip. And you would want to put slip on the surface you're scoring on. So if this is firmed up a little better, it's better. And then it's score, slip, attach, and then in a moment we'll do the smooth part. So I would let your heart firm up a little bit before you slip and score so it doesn't lose its form. And then just take your finger and really attach it well. And then a little bit of water or slip, not a lot, to really smooth that. And you'll attach all pieces. Then when they're attached, it's good to set on your table and pat a few times to even out. And then again, make sure you put your name and class shape. So I'm not done. I still have to attach those feet on there a little bit better. So that is for a dish. Okay, the last one is if you want to make a coil heart design. So you would take some of the coils like you made for your coil vase, but you would make them thinner because they are too wide to make this form. So I like to make one for each half of the heart. So I would say about pinky or even pencil thinness for when you're making this one. So I'll need 2 to start. So the trick with this is lots of slipping and scoring or it will crumble and fall apart. So I can use the cookie cutter as a template, or I can just use the paper template. So what I'm going to do first is do half the heart, and then one of the best tools you have to cut with is actually your scoring tool too. So if you take your scoring tool, that's really good to cut, and then put your excess clay in your slip cup or somewhere where it can stay. And then I'm going to do the other. So I'm purposely going to overlap that, and I'm going to cut some of that off. I don't want so much, but it's a little thick there. Alright, so then I've got my 2 parts of my heart. You actually don't even need the paper template if you want to kind of just figure that out, your own heart shape. Okay, so the best thing to do is overlap it and then cut it. I showed this with the coil vases as well. Okay, now you must slip and score any of these parts that touch. So you want to get your slip and score, or they will come apart in the firing. So score, slip, attach, smooth, and I'll flip it and do it in a minute too. If you don't do these steps, it will come apart in the firing. You can always adjust the shape of the heart later. Okay, and then it's also really helpful tool to just use the scoring tool on the back and then use your finger to smooth it. So do the front and the back. Doesn't matter which side you use. Then you can start to add interior coil designs, which is fun. So you would just make coil shapes. Like spirals. Now this one would be like maybe for a decoration or a coaster. Whenever you attach them in there, you have to score and slip. So anytime you're attaching things together, wherever they touch, both parts have to be scored and slip. And then attach and smooth. And for this project, you would need to flip it and do that on both sides. You can still see your cool designs, but it's important that you attach and smooth really well. And then you can fill in the rest of the hearts with your design. If you want to be able to hang this, then you'd want to put a hole in it like I showed previously. So happy heart making!